Cop accuses black man in court. Everyone gasps when he begins speaking legal code. The courtroom smelled of old wood and desperation, a place where truth often drowned in prejudice. Marcus Tate stood shackled, his heart pounding like a war drum, accused of a crime he didn't commit. The officer, Detective Hargrove, sat smugly across the room, his badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. He'd painted Marcus as a thief, a menace, a stereotype, another black man destined for a cell. The judge, a graying figure with tired eyes, leaned forward, ready to seal Marcus's fate. The crowd, a mix of strangers and a few familiar faces, buzzed with whispers, their gazes heavy with judgment. Marcus wasn't supposed to be here. A mechanic by trade, he'd spent his life fixing cars, not breaking laws. But last month, a routine traffic stop spiraled into chaos. Hargrove claimed Marcus stole a car, a sleek sedan reported missing from a wealthy suburb. The evidence? A grainy photo of a black man near the vehicle and Hargrove's word. Marcus's alibi, working late at his garage, was dismissed. "You fit the profile," Hargrove sneered, as if skin color were a crime. The trial began, and Hargrove's testimony was a masterclass in bias. He described Marcus as aggressive, suspicious, words that stung like bullets. The prosecutor nodded, building a case on assumptions. Marcus's public defender, overworked and underprepared, fumbled through objections. The room felt smaller with every word, the walls closing in. But Marcus had a secret. For years, he'd studied law at night, poring over legal texts in his cramped apartment. It started as curiosity, sparked by a cousin wrongfully convicted. Over time, it became his shield, a way to understand a system stacked against him. He wasn't a lawyer, but he knew enough to fight back. When the judge called for Marcus to speak, the room stilled. Hargrove smirked, expecting a stumble. Instead, Marcus straightened, his voice steady but laced with fire. "Your Honor, under Section 404.1 of the Penal Code, the prosecution must establish probable cause beyond mere suspicion. Detective Hargrove's testimony lacks corroborative evidence. See no fingerprints, no DNA, no eyewitness placing me at the scene." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge's gavel hovered, forgotten. Hargrove's smirk vanished, replaced by a scowl. Marcus pressed on, citing case law Miranda v. Arizona, Terry versus Ohio with precision that silenced the room. He dissected the traffic stop, pointing out procedural errors. No warrant, no reasonable suspicion, just a hunch fueled by bias. "This isn't justice," Marcus said, his voice rising. "This is profiling." The crowd stirred. A woman in the back, eyes wet, clutched her purse. A young man nodded, fists clenched. Even the bailiff shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's words weren't just legal jargon. They were a cry for dignity, a demand to be seen as human. Hargrove took the stand again, flustered. "He's no lawyer," he barked, but the judge raised a hand. "Let's hear him out," she said, her tone sharp. Marcus continued, unraveling the case thread by thread. He quoted the Fourth Amendment, challenged the photo's authenticity, and exposed gaps in the timeline. The prosecutor scrambled, but Marcus's logic was airtight. The turning point came when Marcus called a witness's boss, Mr. Jenkins, a gruff but honest man. Jenkins confirmed Marcus was at the garage, covered in grease, when the car was stolen. A time-stamped security video, overlooked by the prosecution, backed him up. The courtroom buzzed louder, outrage shifting toward Hargrove. The judge's face softened, but her voice stayed firm. "Detective, your report seems incomplete. Care to explain?" Hargrove stammered, his authority crumbling. The truth was clear. He'd targeted Marcus, banking on a system that rarely questioned cops. In her closing remarks, the judge dismissed the case, citing insufficient evidence. The gavel fell, and the room erupted, some in cheers, others in stunned silence. Marcus exhaled, chains clinking as he rubbed his wrists. He wasn't free yet. The system's scars lingered. But he'd won this battle, not just for himself, but for every person who'd faced a badge and a lie. As Marcus left the courtroom, a young girl in the crowd approached, her eyes wide. "You spoke like a hero," she whispered. Marcus smiled faintly, but his heart was heavy. He wasn't a hero, just a man who refused to be silenced. Outside, the sun hit his face, and for the first time in weeks, he breathed free air. But he knew the fight wasn't over. Not for him, not for anyone who looked like him. The wooden gavel block on the judge's bench, etched with "Justice hangs in balance," stood as a quiet reminder. Marcus's voice had tipped the scales, but the war for fairness raged on. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.